We are live. We are live. What's good? What's good? What's good with you? You already know what it is. My name is Ken Billions. If you didn't know, if it's your first time here, welcome. And if you coming through like you always do, you know what we do over here. I got some good news for you. You at the right place at the right time. This is the number one home for personal development. Not number two, not number three, not number four. This is a place where you come in ordinary and you leave extraordinary. I promise you, I have a promise, a couple promises. This is ministry for the abstract mind, and I just want to let you know that it's a safe space for boys and girls, men and women, elders, everybody. If you have an out the box philosophy, what's up with you out there? I'm gonna come in the chat and I want to see who's out there. I got a great conversation today. Let me see who we got. Say where you're from. And if you got some businesses, put your links in the chat so we know who we are. Hey, make sure you use the chat to network with each other. It's called social media. So make sure you're being social. We got Char Willie on the check-in. What's up with you? Man, I'm the king of destroying a name. So I'm going to just say C. What's up with you, family? I don't know how to pronounce your name. Sheba Mooncat on the check-in. What it do? We got R.A. Spence. Oh, man, we got our regulars in the building, man. You know what it is. What's goody with you? What's up with you? King? Kyan? Man, I'm going to just call you K. I'll be making up people's names. All right, what's good with y'all, man? Everybody. I want to get straight to it because we're on a time slot. You already know what it is. You're at the number one place for personal development. This is ministry for the abstract mind, and I promise you this is a safe space for everybody that has an out-the-box philosophy. If you have babies, please keep them close to your heart, and if you got someone in your life that's trying to love on you, please let them, because this love thing is super duper hard, right? There's no manual for it. Listen. Every day I hear the term feminism, right? Every single day. There's not a day go by where I don't hear that word. Feminism. Feminism this, feminism that. But the interesting thing about feminism is the people that use the word never quote any books. They say, oh, that's feminine, or this is feminist propaganda. But then I ask questions and I say, well, can you source any book so I can go get my own understanding? And nobody knows what it is. But I hear the word, and it seems like feminism is a dirty word. Today I want to unpack it. So I'm going to unpack it with somebody that many of y'all have asked me to bring back. Maya, what's good?
What's going on?
Good,
How are
man.
you?
I'm all right. Listen, man, I'm going crazy because every day I hear this cuss word. It's like a cuss
Yeah.
word, right? Feminism this, feminism that. And I'm like, okay, cool. You know, I'm a student. You know, this is all about personal development. So
Mm,
I want to learn. So I want to dive right into it. Are you ready?
I'm ready. I'm ready. If you, hey, whenever you ready, let's do it. Let's get into it.
Is feminism anti-man?
No, but there are like multi-facets of feminism. So yeah, I would say if you had to pinpoint where you would find anti-man rhetoric, I would say that's probably around like second or third wave feminism. Really radical feminism is it's not even anti-man or anti-male, it's just angry with the patriarchy.
Okay, so there's waves of feminism.
Absolutely.
Okay, so
Or
let's
ways.
take it from the top. What's the first wave?
So the first wave of feminism was like, I want to say it was coined by some French dude like in the 1800s. It wasn't even started, well, the term wasn't started by women. So essentially it was the right for women to own property and to basically be seen as people, to be able to own property and vote were like the first two issues for, and that's first wave feminism's focus. And then second wave feminism is kind of when it moved into more so like that was around like the 60s and 70s. And that's when you got like your radical feminism started to pop up, right? Where women started to actually examine the patriarchy. This is also where things like reproductive rights and stuff came into play as well. And women were starting to want to go to work, white women specifically, because black women always worked in America. Don't let them lie to you. um because the manosphere will tell you like, oh, it's whatever that traditional foolishness, right? Women should be barefoot and pregnant. Black women have always worked when it comes to America. So essentially, second wave feminism was women wanted to be in the
Oh man, hey Maya, sign out and come back in. You're.
workforce.
Oh man, she was cooking. While she's doing that, I just want to say hello to everybody. Not sure what happened, but we're gonna get technical difficulty. Hold on. I wonder what's going on. Okay, do it again because it seemed like it froze on your end. Hold on. Okay, what? 1 second, love. All right, let's try it again. 1 second, y'all. We're gonna work this out. Um, 1 second. It looks like there may be a connection issue on your end. Let me see. Okay, can you hear me? Okay, I can't hear you now. Okay. You gonna click on something else? Okay. Okay. While she is waiting, while she's getting everything together, uh, we'll kill some time. I think it's definitely a time. We about to be half of the year. So while she's getting her everything together, I want y'all to take this time to audit your year, like make sure you're on track, because it's going by, yo. It's going super fast. So make sure that you audit your year. Make sure that you are where you want to be. You know what I mean? Before we get to the first of the year of 2024, and you're making new plans. You know what I'm saying? So make sure you audit your year. So I want to ask y'all a real question. I want to ask y'all a real question. Uh, what grade would you give yourself thus far? Right? What grade would you give yourself? What would you say is your yearly grade? What does that look like? Be honest. Be honest. Let me see. We got a C. That's real. That's real. I'm kind of C-ish too. Like there's some things that I need to get on like ASAP. All right, 1 second. Looks like she's back. I don't want to waste no time.
Me this time.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Okay, okay, perfect. Yeah, let's jump back in it. So you left off on the waves of feminism.
Yeah,
Okay.
so like I said, first wave feminism is the right to vote and own property. Second wave feminism is where women start to actually address the patriarchy, and where women actually that's when reproductive rights and things start to come up, and that's where radical feminism branched off it. That's around like roughly the 60s and 70s. That's also at the time where feminism started being associated with the LGBT community, because you had women who were bisexual. Obviously, men in bisexual men or gay men, took the forefront when it came to living in a patriarchy. But eventually, women started to examine their own roles in same-sex relationships as well, and that's where feminism kind of got stuck because of propaganda, because feminism was considered like anti-conservatives, right? So then you have fourth wave feminism. So, well, third wave feminism. So, third wave feminism is kind of like where you get the like the Roe v. Wade and all that other stuff. So basically, women who were born in the 60s and 70s started, becoming of age, and that's where we get intersectional feminism and like womanism and things like that. When they start to look at what race and what that meant for feminism. And this is also when they started to examine like what femininity and masculinity look like as a whole, and gender roles, gender norms, and things like that. That's around third wave feminism. Third wave and fourth wave feminism overlap. So when we see things like the pro homo movement and other things like that, but also on the other coin, Me Too and stuff like that is considered like that fourth wave of feminism, where activism and like feminism becoming a part of the social sphere and being back, like being a primary issue like it was in the 60s and 70s, is like your fourth wave of feminism.
So you use the word that I'm curious about, intersect. What
Mm-hmm.
does intersectionality, is that the correct word?
Yes, intersectionality is kind of like where two things meet up, right? Because, like I said earlier, before we got cut off, when it came to second wave feminism and white women fighting for the right to work, like I said before, black women have always worked. They've never not worked in America. So our version of femininity looks different than white women's femininity. Blackness is already seen as more aggressive. So black women were denied the same level of femininity, which is what branched off into third wave feminism anyway, because black women started to realize that white women's feminism was essentially not the same. It was not necessarily for us. There were principles, obviously, that we could take with us, like the right to vote, the right to own property, and reproductive rights and things like that, equal pay, the whole nine. But how we function in society is fundamentally different from how white women function. Once upon a time in America, during antebellum slavery and things like that, white women got to be the model of chastity and purity. And you already know what was happening in the households with those black chambermaids and things like that. So we were seen as promiscuous and all those other things, and we were seen as somebody. It was okay for us to do the hard labor. We were even looked at as pretty much on par with a man already when it came to like femininity and things like that. So intersectionality is basically black women saying, hey, things don't necessarily work the same for us or other women of color in general, and basically starting to examine what that looks like.
So I've heard people say, and you tell me that if this is true or not. I've heard people say that feminism is not a black woman struggle. That black women shouldn't be a part of that. That's white women and her relationship to her man. Black women should stay out of it. It doesn't involve black women. What do you say to that?
I say that's bogus, and it's really just most of the time it's just men's way to deflect, and it's women who are male identified. It's their way to deflect because the issue is a lot of black men. Keep in mind, I used to be an activist, right? I did the whole the Revolutionary Black Panther Party, been there, done that, bought the postcard, the T-shirt, the bottle opener, all of that, right? So my thing is, you learn very quickly that a lot of these talking heads in the black community, especially on the chitlin circuit, they'll try to feed you this rhetoric when at the end of the day, black men have never been raised first. But they sell that to us in order to use our mental and emotional and sometimes physical labor in order to advance their own particular agenda. We get used by them the same way we get used by white people, in the same way we get used by the system as a whole. It's all about doing labor and being somebody's workhorse, unfortunately, and being a mule for other communities of people, even our own.
Okay. So what about Malcolm, or what about the Nation of Islam? When
What
you say
about them?
that black men have never been race first, what do you mean by that?
They never have been. So even if you look at Malcolm, right, that was centered around Islam. What does Islam say about women? Does it put women on the same pedestal as men? Soon as he decided to develop a more equitable mind view, y'all knew what happened with him. So that's that.
Okay. The modern Hebrew Israelite movement. It seems like it's centered around race, right? What
Hmm.
is that off? Is that off as well?
It's still, that's not even centered around race. That's centered around Christianity and blackface.
So you're saying that there's never in America, there's never been a movement where black men were race first
Mm-mm.
at the front of the line.
No, no. I'm gonna stand on that. Unless look, and I'm open, right? Because I don't know everything. But if somebody can present that information to me, then I'm here for it. You know what I'm saying? Like, even when it came to the Black Panther Party, you got other people in that movement actively abusing black women. Or same thing with the civil rights movement, Rosa Parks, right? Remember that she wasn't even the first person. Claudette Colvin, right? Look what they did to her. She didn't fit the prototype or the model. You know what I'm saying? They wanted you to be light skinned, you gotta look a certain way. So when it came to things like colorism and all that other stuff, there were still black men who had to vet who could be a face for the movement. Meanwhile, no disrespect though, Claudette Colvin couldn't make it, but George Floyd though, niggas ain't never been black first.
Garvey.
What about him? He was a conservative Christian. That's not a woman centric religion either.
Okay. So have black women been race first?
For way too long.
Okay,
Way too
explain.
long.
Okay, explain the difference of what it looks
So
like when. Okay, shoot. Let me
so
frame
yeah,
the
yeah,
question.
finish the question first. Finish the
Okay.
question.
Well, let me start right here because this is a social movement. Is BLM race first?
As a movement, no. I would say no. I would say it's more of a when it originally started, I would like to feel like it was race first, but even then it's male centric. All the whole, like you see all these posts, everything like the propaganda, and even now, like where are they? You know what I'm saying? But in the beginning, it's still focused on men that were dying at the hands of police and men who were abused by police officers. Where a lot of times, like people like Sandra Bland get laid by the wayside. Not only that, the way they talked about I can't even think of her name right now, the light Korean, how they did Corinne Gates, how disrespectful niggas was when she died in front of her. Come on, fam. And she
Mm.
actually died, right? Her life was taken and niggas did not care. And she died standing up for some principles and died for this ideology, right? There was still male centric. She literally let black men tell her certain things was important, got out there and died for that shit. And look who's taking care of her kids. The government. She got the kid got the money, but at the end of the day, that's a woman who lost her life behind that shit. And all they did was talk shit about her and call her stupid.
Okay, so are you saying that as a whole, black women are more race first than black men?
Absolutely, because we let these hoteps and these dudes talk us out of like feminism, right? And I get it because once again, there are different types of there are different ways of feminism and also different types of feminism, right? And if you don't like the word feminism because it's a buzzword, at least it makes sense being a womanist, right? But black women will literally disregard rhetoric that is beneficial to them and their children, right? Including their sons. Feminism is for everybody. And we will disregard rhetoric because some nigga told us it was bad for us. For some pseudo religious and some pseudo militant bullshit that they don't even believe in themselves. For real, for real. Because
Okay,
we're
so
too caught up in not wanting to look like traitors to these niggas.
do you think that um, black men are traitors to black women? Or
Absolutely.
if
And
so, what?
themselves. And themselves. Like just like women have been talking about the abuse that they've suffered at the hands of black men literally as long as we've been alive at this point. But niggas don't want to believe us. We interact with men in a way that men don't interact with each other. And we still don't get believed, regardless of how the situation pans out. And the whole time we telling y'all we don't feel safe around y'all. Whole time y'all not safe around each other.
Mm.
They trade us to everybody.
Okay, what would it look like for a black man to be raised first? Someone that is in the would it be the ideal of pro black?
Yeah, I guess, but it was still if a black man was truly race first, children would be at the forefront. Period, point blank. Men would be investing in the actual children, straight up. But you don't see that. You'll see a dude like what is it, the guy from your live yesterday. You'll see people be like, it was dudes in your comments, hey, protect this man at all costs. You'll see them say stuff like that to Andrew Tate. How often do you see black men saying protect these babies at all costs? The only time they care about children is when it comes to transgenders using the bathroom.
Hmm.
They literally don't care. Men argue about like child support. They throw parties to celebrate getting off of child support. You don't, if you don't care about your seed, you definitely don't give a fuck about the whole community. Straight up.
It sounds like you're saying that, and correct me if I'm wrong. It sounds like you're saying that black men are anti-black women. Are you saying that?
Black men are anti-black, period.
Oh, just period.
Period.
Hmm. So we have an example. What would it look like? What does a organic pro black look like? What would a black man look like that is really for black children, black elders, black people? Period. What is
Mhm.
how is he a liberal? Is he a conservative? Does he wear red, black, and green? Like what does that look like?
No, he don't do none of that. It's mostly about creating a safe space for children to learn and thrive, right? And to attempt to put in infrastructures and frameworks to further an actual agenda, to actually have a code of conduct and principles for the people that they interact with, right? So there were times once upon a time where some of those principles were kind of incorporated in things like gang culture or originally in the Black Panther Party, right? Feeding children, programs for children, protecting children, all this other stuff, right? And giving women and like giving women, providing women a space to be whoever they want to be, right? Um, it looks like I feel like it would be more on the liberal side, right? I don't necessarily rock with liberal white women, but liberalism, right? The idea of liberty, right, and being able to practice that as an ideology, I rock with. So black men who are truly black first would be promoting those things.
Do you think black women want what white women have? And if
No,
so, what is that?
no.
Okay.
Black women just want to be themselves unapologetically because as we see, like everything, black women literally move the cultural needle straight up. So Kim K is popular because of wanting to emulate certain things from black culture, everything from the aesthetic and all of that. Ariana Grande, same shit, like an aesthetic, right? Black women move the cultural needle, right? So there's no be like white woman in what aspect? To be regular, to be unseasoned, to be mediocre, to weaponize tears. Like, what do we want that for? Black women just literally want to be left alone, want to be and be safe. That's it. Black women want safety and they want a space to be whoever it is they're supposed to be.
Okay, this is just things I've heard. So I've heard many black men in vacuums talk about the image of black women, and
Hmm.
you know, if black women don't want to be white women, why do you have their hair?
That's
I've
not
heard.
white women hair. First of all, that'd be like Peruvian body wave. Ain't nobody ever had no cockazoo hair on their head. Now we never did that. Let's keep it above. But even then, I feel like a lot of times, because you said in those spaces, right, dealing with black men, I feel like a lot of times they give white men way too much credit because black men want to be. They literally are obsessed with being like white men, right? So black men want the power that white men have and all of that. So what they do is they project these things onto black women. So when it comes to the even with the hair issue, since when are white women like the standard, right? And intrinsically tied to straight hair? Since when? Since when was that a thing?
Hmm.
Like who said that was them? But they are literally a
treat white men and white women like the boogeyman. And it's because they have internalized that white women are the beauty standard. So they assume that everything black women do is to look more like white women. And here's the thing, they still ignore a lot of cultural relevance. Once upon a time, you couldn't get a job if you didn't have a perm. And like I said before, black women did not have the luxury of not working. So what are we supposed to do?
You, uh, a few minutes back, you said that feminism is for everybody,
Everybody.
even for black men.
Absolutely for black men. There's more than one way to be a man. There's more than one way to be black. And so even the intersectionality of blackness and masculinity needs to be questioned because most of these men get their ideas about masculinity from white or Eurocentric, like patriarchy, straight up. Black men don't even know how to naturally just be black men. Because what does that look like? European cut suits? Literally European cut suits. Like literally white men are the standard, the measuring stick for black men, unfortunately. Definitely black men benefit from more capable women because niggas want to go 50-50. Feminism. Black men who decide they're not ready to be fathers, right? Benefit from Roe v. Wade. Feminism, right? They benefit from women who aren't afraid to pick up the slack because you have so many married women who are essentially married single mothers and they're okay with that, right? Men benefit from sexually liberated women as well.
Hmm.
Cause who else would you be sleeping with? Literally, all men benefit from feminism, especially black men.
So let's broaden it. So when the average man hears the word feminism, and you see the look on their face,
Hmm.
what do you think is the image that pops in a man's mind when he hears
Oh,
feminism?
it's a chubby white lesbian with a buzz cut, straight up. Cause that's what I used to think. That's what I used to think. Like let's keep it a buck. I used to think the same thing. I used to be on the same type of time. Like that's what I say. Like being in activist circles and really dealing with men, black men specifically, when you put them in a position to be in charge of some shit, you really get to see how they really feel about things. I know that's what they feel. I know that's what they see. And then when black women speak about feminism, they essentially look at somebody who's also a lesbian and brainwashed.
But what's the
Definitely the flannel shirt.
but what's the fear though? Like because the way that it's spoken about has like a boogeyman association. It's genuine fear. That's because of feminism, right? Everything negative,
Just because of
right? Is feminism. Now I never seen a man associate any negative thing going on in society to patriarchy.
right.
Anything negative is associated with feminism.
Hmm.
So because we all see in pictures, when men hear feminism, what does he see himself in that world?
He don't see himself in that world,
Well, he
period,
doesn't
and that's
see
why he's
himself in it.
scared.
So he doesn't see himself in the world.
Right.
Do you believe the average man when he thinks of patriarchy, he thinks of the roles reverse? Now women are in charge, and
Some
now
of them do. Yeah, some of them do. But a lot of times when you talk about feminism, you see these men that are say something like it all in the comments. I don't know what y'all are gonna do without me. And so like I guess there's a dichotomy of some men who think feminism, the ideal is a world without men, and on the other hand, the ideal is a world in which roles were reversed. But that's patriarchal thinking. Like men cannot even fathom a world where that's equitable. They can't even fathom it because patriarchy and capitalism go hand in hand. So even the notion that somehow like feminism means that the roles will be reversed instead of just equal footing for everybody lets you know how deep the programming is.
you don't think the average man wants everybody to be on the same level,
No,
or would that be socialism?
no, it wouldn't be socialism. There's like levels to even socialism, right? Or capitalism. So socialism is a bad word as well, but being in a situation to where there's an environment in which a man who has alternative lifestyles is still able to like be viable is what feminism would essentially look like. And I think people got the wrong idea about socialism, but that's a conversation for another day. But I think people hear socialism and automatically think nobody has anything, nobody has money. That's not how that works. So there would still exist free enterprise even in that type of society. Men don't want to be equal, they want the power. That's why patriarchy exists in general. Because every men could have already been on some equity shit and been on some each according to their need, right? But that's not the system they constructed. So, like the fact that men have been the architects of society for so long, and this is what they chose to build, this is what they want.
Do you think women in leadership positions is necessary?
Absolutely.
Do you think women can lead men?
Absolutely. And have.
Do you do you think America's ready for a woman president?
No.
Why is that?
America is not as advanced in thought as we would like to think we are, right? And I get that. I'm saying that from all the way over here. Like, you know what I'm saying? Japan got their own hangups or whatever. But as far as America is concerned, identity politics is way, way, way too strong. We can't even accept that there are multiple ways to be a man or multiple ways to be a woman. We can't even accept the fact that masculinity and femininity, like they all have different ways that they can show up. And we got to get there first before we get to fully accepting a woman as a president for real. Like actually accepting. Because you see what happened with Barack Obama, right?
Hmm. Jumping back to the feminism is for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So if we snapped our fingers, you and I went to sleep, we woke up tomorrow. Feminism is for everybody looks like what now? Like we wake up tomorrow, we wipe the cold
Mm-hmm.
out of our eyes, and now feminism is for everybody. What would be the differences that I feel about my day to day?
As far as the United States is concerned, less hunger, free education, in a better education system because it's not based on profit. Because once again, patriarchy involves a hierarchy, so naturally capitalism is a product of it, right? So when you look at the whole system, would be about the best outcomes. Period. Point blank. I say I'm elitist all the time, but even when it comes to elitism, it's based on skill, knowledge, information, and meritocracy and things like that. So that type of ideology is tied into feminism. So yeah, we have things like free healthcare. Hunger would essentially be eliminated, right? And there would not be the massive hoarding of resources because it wouldn't even be necessary anymore. You can still enjoy your nice things, right? Um, but you don't have to sit by and watch children starve because they would be first. And so once children in general are put in a better situation to where they can actually fully self-actualize, the world, I'm talking about the world, definitely look different. Not, go
What
ahead.
would, what would be different among women? You think?
Less competition amongst women. I do think, I always make fun of like, these fake women empowerment brunches, but some of them be real. And I do think it would be more camaraderie and fellowship amongst women. And you know what's funny? I think polyamory probably would be a little bit more prevalent.
What would that look like?
So, because like you asked earlier about what did I think the average man kind of wanted things to be equal, and it's like if they wanted to be, it would be right. Because once upon a time, a man with enough resources could have as many wives as he wanted to, right? So that only changed because the common man felt like all men should be entitled to a woman, right? So once you remove those boundaries, right, I feel like the the taboo behind that will probably disappear. Like literally different types of relationship dynamics would be normal, and would actually flourish under feminism. And women have better sex under feminism.
What would that look like?
It looks like men who actually give a shit instead of using women's bodies to masturbate.
Hmm.
It looks like men actually being friends with women first and respecting them as people instead of just commodifying them. It looks like men actually caring about women outside of those that can either do emotional or physical labor for them. When what I mean by that is like women you're related to, that's emotional labor. That's why you care about them because they still provide you with emotional support, or physical labor. That means somebody helping you pay half your bills or somebody you can sleep with. So women actually have value outside of your ability to consume them, which means they can be free to be themselves. And as a woman who likes women, right? I also like men, but I'm like 85% gay, right? But as a woman who likes women, I know for a fact women are definitely more sexually open than men, period. Because once you provide them a safe space, you get to see what they want to do.
So you think if we woke up tomorrow and the world feminism is for everybody, you think that men would have a better quality of life overall?
Absolutely.
So would there be a pyramid structure in terms of hierarchy, and or what the most skilled people, wouldn't they always sometime how rise to the top? Someone like what would happen in those situations?
The most skilled people will get to exercise what they're skilled at. There's no need for a overarching social hierarchy, right? So like with the like for instance basketball players, right? And look, I'm not one of them people that's like, shut up and dribble. But realistically though, if this person is good at sports, we don't need them in activist circles without them being like vetted and actually approved. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
So we wouldn't have this celebrity worship and we wouldn't be led down the wrong path because essentially once again, each according to their need and according to your skill set. So celebrities probably wouldn't even exist. Like, yes, you'll be praised for your acting, but people wouldn't even be following you and like following you like that and investing in rappers, baby mamas and shit. Because it's gonna be we're if you're good at this is where you're on top. Socially, everybody will have a skill. There's no need for a broader social hierarchy that puts people like Elon Musk at the top just because he got a bunch of money and a bunch of ideas. He still got to pay people smarter than him to execute. They don't get the same respect though.
We snap our fingers, we wake up tomorrow, and the world is a feminist world and feminism for everybody. Would religion still exist? If so, what would that look like?
It would be more like spiritual systems, right? Instead of actual religion. Men like the rigidity and obviously the male centeredness of religions, right? Women just don't move like that. Most women are into religion because of the need to assimilate and to fit into male dominated culture. I think religion in the way that we see it as something like rigid and structured would no longer exist. It's going to be about what's good for the collective.
So we snap our fingers and we wake up in the morning and feminism is for everybody. So no one would. So little boys playing with dolls.
Yeah, if they want to. I always say, look, and it's gonna be controversial, and I know it's gonna be some people that don't agree with me, right? But I feel like so based on how we're socialized, from the time I came out the womb, I was essentially being socialized and conditioned to take care of somebody else, right? So regardless of what people think about my femininity and things like that, I do this mom shit for real, right? And so I had a toy vacuum cleaner, a toy stove, baby dolls, the whole nine. If you want men to have a better connection with actual fatherhood, I see no issue with them also learning how to take care of somebody other than themselves.
So how would so could I use the word intersect here?
Yeah.
So how if little boys are playing with dolls or wearing pink, I mean let's dress it up, playing with dolls, wearing skirts, doing all that, right? How would that intersect with nurturing?
Because like I said, it's still a condition, right? To be considerate, to be compassionate. Like I said, when you're young and you got a actual baby doll, you gotta name it, you gotta feed it. You see little girls with these dolls that take them everywhere. and actually attempt to take care of them, right? That's a learned skill. Anybody can be nurturing. Obviously, some people are better at it. Same thing with leadership. That's a skill that can be honed. Compassion and empathy can actually be taught. And that would be, since this is what typically works for little girls for the most part, I don't see why it wouldn't work for little boys either.
So, do you think that uh, when gender begins to intersect with each
Mm-hmm.
other, what do you think would have? How would it affect the overall societal identity of the culture, right? So, okay, so China, boom, hops on American shores, right? But
Mm-hmm.
the boys here wear pink. They have skirts on. They play with doll babies, and the girls play with GI Joes and fire engines. In that dynamic, America's feminism for everybody. But what happens when nations begin to clash? What would that look like?
I mean, it still look the same. Who, like, here's my thing. So you could teach somebody to fight as well. So that's a natural instinct. They have the term mama bear for a reason. Men aren't the only people that are naturally protectors. When you look at babies in general, who is the first protector and provider for a small child? It's gonna be a woman. So here's the thing. I was in the military, right? I competed in Soldier of the Year. I got an expert marksmanship badge, the whole nine. So if you can teach women how to do it, you can teach other men how. Like, it's literally a system. These things have to be taught. You have to be conditioned. Like, yeah, and in a situation like that, just make sure everybody is ready.
So, do you think under how we are now, things are based? Because everything I'm talking about is a performance. The skirt, the
All of it is
bra,
very
right?
performative. It don't mean nothing.
Okay. So, can you get into performative gender roles or performative masculinity, femininity? Let's start with femininity. What is performative femininity opposed to organic and, dare I say, esoteric femininity?
It's the soft girl era. I don't know no soft women. Like, I look like, in the women throughout history who get remembered are not soft. And then, just like I said, the original protectors and providers are women. A woman got to make it through her pregnancy, while men are off hunting and doing whatever the fuck men do. Right? They still got to make it. And when you have a small child, you are their child's first line of defense. So women are naturally warriors because we gotta make. You know how vulnerable a woman is when she's pregnant. You know how vulnerable is a woman is with a baby attached to her hip.
Hmm.
You gotta be on point, straight up. Harriet Tubman. Let's talk about goddesses, right? So let me finish my point. So that soft girl era, that divine feminine shit, like that's popular right now, is bogus, isn't performative. Getting your hair done to make you feel more feminine, that's mad weird because it don't got nothing to do with the outside. Getting your nails done to feel more feminine and like being demure, being silent, being soft, all that other stuff. Somebody done lied to you and sold it to you because at the end of the day, from the esoteric point of view, the feminine creates and is unseen. The feminine is unseen. Masculine, right? It defines. It is the seen. So all of this performative shit we're going through in the it ain't even a duality of the sexes no more. It's polarization of the sexes is due to the patriarchy. This is all patriarchy because men feel the need to categorize things because the masculine is the seen. You gotta put it in a box. You gotta define it. Just like in the Bible, what did God tell Adam to do? To name all the animals. So, like, throughout history, masculine has been putting things into boxes.
Hmm.
And so, like I said, the true feminine is not seen straight up. So if you can put it on or show it off, that ain't it. Same thing with performative masculinity, the machismo and things like that, right? And wanting to be tough and wanting to be a leader automatically based on the fact that you're a man and not because you developed a skill set. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's performative masculinity. And the whole alpha male, even though that's been debunked, and I just be so tired of hearing that, but it's like it's not necessarily more powerful than feminine energy. It's not necessarily about dominating. It's to take the creative energy of the feminine energy and put some shape to it and give it a purpose, right?
Mm.
To put purpose on it. That's the only point. It's not about showmanship. It's not about whether your pants are tight or baggy or none of that. That's corny.
Is femininity chaos?
It can be, absolutely. It's chaos. It can be destruction. It could be love. It could be nurturing. It could be teaching. It could actually be leadership. They call it women's intuition for a reason. The oracles, right, who are tapped in, were always women. And then for men to have access to certain types of information back in the day, you have to be a unit, right? For you to be seen as holy as a man, you have to be a unit once upon a time.
So if masculinity puts things in a box,
Mm-hmm.
is there any positive outcomes if masculinity puts femininity in a box?
No. So the thing is, once again, still supposed to provide. Masculinity is supposed to. Masculine energy, feminine energy still are supposed to have the same goal. They're still supposed to be working towards the same direction, right? And they're supposed to exist within one person. Each individual is supposed to possess both. And that's why I brought up duality versus polarity earlier. Every person is supposed to be dual in nature. I pride myself on being androgynous. People ain't gotta like it, but I've mastered my masculine side, I mastered my feminine side, and they work together because you need both, right? I could draw a portrait, and I can also do calculus. I'm good. I can left brain, right brain, whatever. I got it, right? I am whole. I am complete, and it just happens to radiate on the outside, right? But it's something that starts from within. I turn it on and turn it off, right? So when it comes to what we're looking at now in society, everything has become polar opposites. Men were never meant to just be masculine. Masculinity is not exclusive to males. Femininity is not exclusive to females, right? The goal was for everybody to achieve that duality and to master both sets of energy and be complete. That's that whole the romance era, right? That whole your better half. Y'all supposed to consider relationship whole in general. Men and women were never meant to be opposites. That was never the case.
Hmm. Oh, what does it mean when they say that black women act too masculine?
It's because black women don't want to lay down. Like I said, we've always had to work. Black women have been forced into a bunch of roles, right? So we have to deal with racism, we have to deal with patriarchy, we have to deal with sexism, misogyny, classism, all this other stuff. And at some point, people get tired of not having their way. So now, more black women are becoming vocal, and people just don't like that. It makes people uncomfortable, especially because keep in mind, like, blackness is also tied to masculinity, which is why the whole joke about light skinned men being sweet,
Hmm.
right? So black women already being brown versus a white woman, it already puts us on the masculine end of the spectrum, period. We will never have access to white women's version of femininity, ever. We never had. I mean, even like I said earlier, when it came to things like slavery, right? Women were already doing hard labor and seen as something totally different. We weren't even looked at as women once upon a time, let alone feminine.
Hmm.
So it sucks, man. We don't get that label put on us anyway, just off the strength of being black.
Do you think you have a term called "meet me in the future"?
Yeah.
Do you think I want you to go into that in a sec? But do you think it's wise in modern times, for you mentioned it early, for a lot of black women to basically, oh, I want a soft life. I basically want the man to think for me. I don't want to do anything. I just want to wear lingerie in the house and make breakfast. What would is is that smart? Is that a smart way to transition into the new world?
I wouldn't say it's not a good or bad thing. It's not smart or dumb. It's one of them. It's about individualism, right? And that's part of like one of the tenets of feminism. It's about women's choice. And so, like I always say, catch up with your kind. That is also important. And it's about allowing a safe space for people to do that, right? Unencumbered. And it's also about still giving the same respect and access to femininity to women who choose to work, to women who are ambitious. Like, it's literally just individual choice. I would never knock no woman who don't want to work and who wants to be taken care of. That's perfectly fine, right? Conversely, I also don't knock men who are like that because every man ain't meant to be a leader. And it might be a situation to have to where he has found himself in a situation to where he's in a relationship or in a marriage with a woman who is more capable than he is. You gotta take a back seat, homie, and just let her do her thing. And it's okay. And he can live that soft life.
When you say meet me in the future, what do you mean by that?
What I'm saying is like the world we grew up in or the world our parents prepared for us no longer exists, right? Um, and not only that, like the world is changing and evolving every day. And because the world, right, and society, the universe itself is still expanding. Everything is in perpetual motion. So there's literally no such thing as standing still. You either moving forward or you moving backwards, period, point blank. So meet me in the future means that your decisions today have to be made with the future in mind. Because a lot of us have children. And unfortunately, we're doing the same thing our parents did by preparing them for a world that won't exist by the time they're old enough to actually make decisions for themselves. And we're having generations of children that really can't go into the future and be successful.
Are there any traditions that are important that we should take into the future? If so, what?
I do think we should have rites of passage. I do think that's a thing. It should be a thing. It's not often, but we should. It should be a thing.
What are a couple things we should leave here and not take into?
We should leave the conversations about submission and leadership. Who gets the big piece of chicken? We need to leave that shit in the past. We need to leave traditional gender roles in the past, right? And I there are a group of people that are called gender abolitionists who feel like we should leave our notion of gender in general in the past and just deal with individuals on an individual basis and let those individuals create an individual reality and pursue happiness based on what their personal ideals are. And I'm kind of rocking with that.
Okay. So we snap our fingers. We are in the future.
Hmm.
We are in 2080. What what does feminism look like, and what does patriarchy look like?
Well, it depends on the things that happen between now and then. Like, because I really can't say, but for me, I do think the world looks like more women in power. I do think the world appreciating soft skills and stuff like that more is going to be a thing. I do think men playing more active roles as parents and being like actually involved in child rearing is going to be a thing. Um, do I feel like we're going to be in a situation where feminism is actually mainstream? No, because the same way men benefit from patriarchy, or some men benefit from patriarchy. And so, because of that, the average man would rather wait for his chance at power instead of like just saying, let's play a new game where we all have equity. And it's like, but no, they got to be on top. So I want my chance to be on top. And then we can change it after I get my turn. So because of that, I don't see feminism being mainstream anytime soon. And I don't see us moving into the future in the correct way anytime soon. Because we still having conversations about relationships and shit when Korea built the artificial sun. So
Are these talking points attached to race? This idea of
yes.
race? How so?
So like I said, it's white male patriarchy, right? It's European patriarchy that black men are attempting to emulate. And that's also why they'll probably never have that type of access that they want, because it's not for them either, but they're not gonna lay it down. And then not only that, they have a term called like postmodern feminism, right? Which examines, or matter of fact, womanism itself addresses the intersectional space between sex, race, and class. And so race will always be important the same way class will always be important, because those things are intertwined. And then sex and race are intertwined because, like I said, the ideas of what is feminine is still based on the European ideal. Same thing like what is masculine is still based on the European ideal. And so until we can undo those things and have black men and black women decide for themselves what femininity and masculinity looks like, and it's no longer attached to those ideals, it's always going to be, it's literally going to always be mutually inclusive.
You used the word earlier, male identified. What's that mean?
That means that it's women who actually subscribe to the patriarchy. It's women including like pick right? Or women that will um accept male viewpoints and male ideology even when it's not necessarily beneficial to them. And they will uphold the status quo. It's the same, it's basically similar to a self-hating Negro. You know what I'm saying? Or anti-blackness is being male identified when it don't benefit you.
What's a pick me?
It's a spectrum. You know, you got a Pookie spectrum. It's a picnic spectrum.
Okay.
So
So
you have
so at the bottom. So okay, let's go through the up from the bottom of the pyramid to the top of the pyramid. So
okay.
at the,
So from the bottom of the pyramid, we talking about like the gutter
yeah,
bottom tier pick me
yeah.
are women who will allow their own children to be prey to men. These
Mm.
are women that have boyfriends that have molested
Monique
daughters.
and Precious.
Yeah, that's a
Okay, so that's
bottom
the
tier
bottom of
pick
the
me. That's a
pyramid.
bottom tier of the pick me.
Okay, so it's
Where
a
the
woman that feeds her children
to men.
to a. Okay, so that's the
Right.
bottom.
Right.
So
Just so she can continue to have access to
to
that man.
me. Ooh,
Right.
okay. So
That's a
now we go up the pyramid a little bit. So the next tier.
the next tier of a pick me would be those women who essentially would do anything for the male gaze and will compete with other women. They might not sell their children, but they will compete with other women. They don't have female friends, right? Those are the women who are like, oh, I don't hang out with women because they're too messy or blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no, you actually don't want to have to compete with another woman for the attention of a man. And you don't trust women because you also intrinsically view other women as competition. That's your mid tier.
Okay, so at the bottom we have the sacrifice woman, right?
Yeah.
Right. At the top we have.
Or in the middle, we got those attention except for that. It's with women for the most part and avoid actually becoming friends with women because they view women as competition, not actually as people. Those are the women who will fight the side too.
Okay, and then from there we have.
The top tier. These are the women that there are two types of women in the top tier, right? Because they're hard to identify. These are the mean girls that actually host the women empowerment brunches and things like that. And they want to be in circles and get information from other women they deem as powerful, but they don't actually respect them. They want to have access to the power and privilege that they perceive that men have. And they will do that at the expense of other women. And then the other women on that spectrum is way more benign, right? So these are the women who have relationships with women and have homegirls and everything like that, but they're not quite as bad. But what they will do is they will disappear or ghost their women friends whenever they get in a relationship. They'll come back around though when I just saw a comment. A godmother picked me. Sherzad, don't do it like that now. But yeah, so these are a lot more benign. These are the women who, like I said, they have homegirls, have good relationships with women, but only when they're single. Only when they're single. When they're in a relationship, they prioritize their romantic relationship, even over women that they have been friends with since childhood, who probably have seen them at some of their worst moments. But you still got to take the back seat over the person that I'm having sex with.
Mm. So that's the pick me triangle.
Yeah.
Okay. So when I've heard women say, "Yeah, I'm gonna pick me. I want to get picked." Yeah, I want to
Mhm.
get picked. What is she? We don't know what she's saying, but what is she saying though?
Basically, I feel like when a woman's like, "Yeah, I'll be a pick me. I want to get picked," I feel like that's just basically that's desperation to me. I feel like it's just desperation because anybody that's actually getting picked don't have, you know what I'm saying? Like, you don't have to go looking for it. I don't, like I said, I'm 85% gay. I barely like men. I've literally never had an issue getting picked. So I don't understand that struggle. So to me, it reeks of insecurity. It's one thing to want to be in a marriage, right? It's one thing to want to have a healthy relationship. It's one thing to look at your future and say, you know what I'm saying? I want a husband. I want 2.5 kids, a dog, and a picket fence, right? That's cool. But like when you have to verbalize instead of working on yourself or putting yourself in a position to be desirable to the people that you want, desperate.
Okay, because you just brought this up. So when you say you barely like men, when people are when people when, when people are hearing you, you know they're like, oh, of course you think like this, right?
Right.
Okay.
Because people, because I said this earlier, I'm gonna let you finish your question, but I'm gonna just interject what I said there earlier. Men don't respect people they can't get physical emotional labor from. So because they can't fuck me, they don't value what I gotta say. Or they're not related to me, right? So I don't gotta come to their rescue. They don't value what I gotta say. And that just further proves my point in how men commodify women. I shouldn't have less value just because you can't consume me. And I don't hate men. I don't have an issue with men, right? I have a great relationship with my father. I have male friends who I go to for wise counsel, right? I really rock with some solid dudes. That's not my issue, but I understand why somebody would say that. It's the optics.
So what is when you say I barely like men? And because what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to think of the person that is like, see, right, see, right, because it often does come in a package of,
Absolutely.
you know, when you hear women's empowerment or you hear feminism, there's a look, right, and
Hmm.
then there, I bet you she's gay, I bet you she's
Yeah.
bi, right. So to flatten it out,
You want me to explain what I mean by that?
yes, please.
Got you. So, without making it too complicated, because then we have to have people self reflect on what they actually like and want out of life, I'm going to say that I am physically attracted to men. I am sexually attracted to men, but I have a hard time taking them seriously because there is a disconnect between men and women right now. And it seems that when it comes to my group of peers being the age that I am, it's easier to find women who are on par, right, when it comes to intellectually and emotionally than it is to find men who are on par mentally and emotionally. So while in some instances I am more physically attracted to men than women, sometimes, for the most part, I am more emotionally and intellectually attracted to women. And that's what I mean by that. I have no issue sleeping with a man, right? But when it comes to actually taking them seriously, that's rare. You know what I'm saying? Because we are starting to live in genuinely two different worlds. You know, even in this book right here, right? You know this book, Ken, right? So even in this book, when
It's
it
it's
comes,
it's it's upside down from the view.
oh yeah, my camera backwards.
Okay, so
Yeah, yeah.
tell us the title of that.
This is The End of Men and the Rise of Women by Hannah Rosen, right? And it's not what you think it is. It's not talking about, men and their extinction, right? In here, she talks about a study that they did of like education, right? So By the time women are 28, they are more educated and more accomplished than their male counterparts. That's true of this particular generation. And so I'm starting to see that. I have an MBA, and I also am getting a software engineering degree as we speak. I've been a successful entrepreneur, right? I've done the inner work. I go to therapy twice a month just because, right? It's hard to find a man my age that matches those credentials and don't use them as talking points or tokens to get sex. You know what I'm saying? Who's genuinely invested in self improvement. Just like in this live right here, instead of taking the opportunity to actually learn what feminism is and decide if they actually hate it in real life, it's mostly women in here today. And I know your audience is mostly men. Men don't seem to be as interested in empowering themselves, not even just women, but empowering themselves or doing the work when it comes to self development and self improvement. I just went to a women's empowerment brunch, right? And I always talk about these fake girl boss brunches and things like that. But I went there, and some of these women are military. I'm talking about in high ranking positions, one of six in the entire, you know what I'm saying, branch that she's in. These are published authors, these are PhD candidates. They got groups called Black Girls Run where we actually do fitness and things. They throw get-togethers. They link up to figure out how they go, like for babysitting, who's willing to babysit or have events for children so we can do X, Y, and Z. They're feeding people, right? All this other stuff. I have yet to see men have an event like that here. And in general, men just don't seem to fellowship in the same way that women are. And my thing is, I'm aligned. Like the baby's got to come first. The baby's got to come first. But I'm also aligned with self development, improvement, and you should want to leave everything better than you found it, and to be an asset to those around you. And you can't do that if you're not working on yourself. And it seems like men are not working on themselves in the same way that women are. And on top of that, right? How many? So we got wife school. There's a chick teaching women like D-riding classes, right? How to get fellatio, right? You have these women who are seeing dating coaches and all of this other stuff, right? And investing millions of dollars in these industries a year. Read every time you look at a issue of Cosmo or a women's magazine, it got something to do with dating, how to find the right one, or how to be more attractive. Women go through extraordinary lengths and actually put their money where their mouth is when it comes to attracting a valuable mate. Men hop on podcasts and talk shit. Where's the husband school? Where are the classes to teach men how to be better lovers? Where are they actually investing in themselves and investing in relationships and doing things to make themselves better partners for women? They're not. They're literally not. And so for that reason, I have a hard time connecting emotionally and mentally with the average man.
This is Mike's Cash App going through the bottom. So if you like what you hear, go ahead and tip the pastor, man.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Do you think that men look at men the same way, where men are physically attracted to women but emotionally attracted to men?
Absolutely. Male culture, like cis hetero male culture, is homoerotic. Period. I'll die on the hill.
Mm. Okay. So to bring it back, did feminism break up the black family?
No, black men broke up the black family.
Explain.
What you mean? They left. They did. Like on some. So the whole, because I hate that whole conversation about all women accepted welfare, kick the man out the house. First things first, right? You can be married and get and get welfare, right? And get like child care vouchers, housing vouchers, the whole nine, right? You can be married and still get those things. So the fact that they're saying that women kick men out in order to get them is a lie off real. Not only that, right? I look, true story. I've been on housing before, right? Well, technically, I haven't been on housing. I was added to somebody else's voucher because I'm a finesse, period, right? I was trying to get up out of Arkansas with the quickness, and I was just tired, right? I quit everything. I was like, I'm just going to dip with what's in my car. Got on somebody's housing voucher, moved to Dallas, took off, right? So I know that most people who actually are on housing, who are on government assistance, are working class individuals. Period, point blank. But not only that, I know that when it comes to, I know how much that stuff costs. So you mean to tell me that, because like I said, most of these women still work. So it's like my rent $400 or whatever. They give me, let's say, a $400 housing voucher. They're giving me childcare, right, and $300 a month in food stamps, right? You mean to tell me that is more valuable to this woman than having in-house meat, a confidant, an extra income, and a co-parent in the house with you? That don't mean a woman is a traitor. That means that you were sorry if she accepted $300 worth of food stamps over you.
One sec, Maya. They were saying your cash app is not coming up. Let me. Maybe I had the wrong spelling. Spell it for me.
Is pound sign or not pound sign? There we go. Is the cash tag the little dollar sign NINE 30?
Oh, 30.
Yeah, 30.
Okay, I had it coming up. NINE 930. Okay.
Yep.
Um. Okay. All right. So why? Where are we getting this from? Why do we think that? Okay, that's correct, right? On my screen.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
correct.
okay. They were saying it wasn't coming up. Okay. So where are we getting this from? Where are we getting this that men were kicked out of the home for
From
because
men,
so there's no truth to this.
none. Literally none. Like it. So the propaganda, and here's the thing though, what's even more wild though, once you look at the statistics, more white people are on government assistance than black people, period. I know women who've been on the waiting list for years, you hear me?
Hmm.
So the fact that black women aren't even the main ones getting approved for it lets you know that's a lie. It's literally just an excuse for the impotence of underachieving men.
So you're saying men just left.
Yeah,
Feminism.
legitimately.
Okay. All right.
Because now, unfortunately, they have access to white women and they rather do that.
So are you saying that this is rhetoric that is being promoted from people that actually left their home?
Absolutely. Just the same way you'll see men complain about, oh, you know what I'm saying, she won't let me see my kid or blah, 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 or complaining about child support. Like, if you didn't make nobody a baby mama, you wouldn't be in that situation. You gotta eat that.
Was Margaret Sanger a feminist?
Uh, I wouldn't know if she had, like, I don't like calling nobody nothing they don't identify as. You know what I'm saying? So I don't participate in the identity politics in that way. Just because somebody has talking points that might line up with a specific ideology, it doesn't mean that they subscribe to it. I don't want to put coats on people that's not theirs. But what I will say is when it comes to Margaret Sanger, I know a little bit about her life, right? So I understand where she came from. Essentially, her dad was a doctor or something. He worked where he was always gone. He would come home, obviously coming home to your wife. Y'all participate in life right quick, and she got more siblings and more siblings and more siblings. And I don't know why the cash tag not popping up, but more siblings and more siblings and more siblings. And what happens is her dad is gone again and back on the road, right, with his job. So the issue with that is that now her mom has to pick up the slack, and the oldest children have to help raise their siblings. She was tired of living in perpetual poverty because her dad was gone for like a year, 12 months, whatever, 18 months at a time. So her thing was she wanted to have birth control, like a means of birth control, and wanted to legalize contraception for women because men do not have to deal with the consequences of actual physical pregnancy, nor are they the majority people when it comes to child rearing. It's not their struggle. And she felt like it was unfair that men get to create families and men give.
Okay. So
So it
I
wasn't just happening in the black community either.
so real quick, I just checked on my phone. It comes up as Maya Johnson.
Yeah, that's me.
Yeah, that's her. So it's 9:30. Okay. So I appreciate y'all treating my guests fairly. Okay. What do women not know about feminism?
I mean, most women know about the same as about feminism as men do.
Hmm.
Hold on, they talking about my cash app still not. I know it's gonna be backwards, but I'm like, hold on, let me see if I could. I don't know if I can put a link in there. I'm on my tablet.
Yeah, I found it.
Yeah, he found it.
Here's back.
$N
Back.
I N
It,
E
it's back.
30. Yeah, I know.
Put it. Put it.
I'm like, can I even do a comment on here? I'm trying to use my mouse like I ain't on this tablet.
Okay. So real quick, I'll figure it out. Okay.
Yeah,
So
I ain't tripping right now.
what do women not know?
Like I said, women know about the same amount as men do. They don't really know much at all. And I think a lot of women don't understand that it's not man hating for one, and then for two, yeah, try making the N capital and see if that makes a difference. But it's not about hating men. It's about equity. It's not even about like equality, saying that women, like all women, should be able to do everything that men do. Some women don't want to do what men do, and that's perfectly fine. Feminism is about making a space for all of them, right? For different types of lifestyle and accommodating different types of women who have different ideas of what they want their life to look like, right? And then with more recent things, like a lot of women think it's about, the whole pro-ho situation and being, promiscuous and other things. That's also not necessarily the case. It's about saying that women who want to either participate in promiscuity or if they want to be sex workers, they should be able to do that safely. But also for women who, whether it be for religious reasons or personal reasons, prefer to live a more modest lifestyle, they should have a safe space to do that too, free from judgment.
One of my guests, Tahiri Divine, talks about female agency. Right? Can you go in more on that as well? What does that look like from your POV? What does female agency look like?
It just means having control over your body, and having control over your, it's being able to actually fully self-actualize. But it's hard because at the end of the day, women can only actualize so much under patriarchy. So being able to advocate for yourself and kind of carve your own lane and having the same access to rights, freedoms, and liberties as your male counterparts is what that agency looks like for me. And like I said, it also looks like having a safe space for alternative lifestyles, not necessarily meaning somebody being LGBT or nothing like that. It's more so, like I said, if you want to be a modest woman, if you want to live your soft girl life, you should be able to do that. And you should be able to live in a society that gives you the space and opportunity to create that life without you having to be punished for it or suffer for it in some other social, or economic way.
Do you think that if more women as a collective begin to lean more into female agency, would that remove them from the church?
Yes, absolutely.
Why?
Because it's male centered. Like especially when it comes to the Christian church, the Holy Trinity is two dudes and a ghost. Like, how far do you legitimately gotta go in order to remove the influence of women? You know what I'm saying? Like, you went that far, and then you want to preach about the family structure when the Holy Trinity, right? The blueprint for humanity is two dudes and a ghost. It makes zero sense. And I'm not knocking anybody who is on that path. Like, and that's, what I'm saying, no disrespect, to people who are involved in religion and who participate in that, right? But realistically, more women would definitely leave the church because it doesn't serve them. There's nothing in it that uplifts women or is inherently good for women. Unless you're a woman who wants to be disadvantaged or wants to be submissive, right? I don't know, it might be a kink you got or something. I don't know, 2 seconds I got. Okay.
Do you
Who
what
doing the most?
what do you think is the appeal to women specifically in Christianity? What do you think is the draw? What is the pull? I understand why men lean into it, right? Why
Hmm.
do you think women lean hard into Christianity specifically?
Well, well, I feel like they lean into it because that's the only thing that's been taught. It would be different if everybody was started from a blank slate and then at the age of 12, or really once your brain is fully developed at 25, then somebody tried to introduce you to religion. It'll be different. But that's not how it goes. Most of us don't have a choice in what we want to believe, especially growing up in the South. You are what your parents are. You're conditioned that way. It don't have nothing to do with personal choice for the most part. You might question those beliefs later, but even for those who question their beliefs later in life, they tend to come back around to it, not necessarily because they feel convicted or they've done their research. It's normally because it's harder than most people think to actually undo the conditioning and the program.
Do you? I've heard some people say that Jesus is black woman's husband. Have you?
Yeah.
Okay. Is there some truth in that?
Yeah. I mean, because if you look at church is a breeding ground for cookies. You know what I'm saying? Just based off the fact that it's male centered in general, right? And so, because basically the zenith of your existence as a woman is to find a man and get married, when you're unable to do that, you turn to the church because you have the presence of male leadership that you can't get in your personal life. There, it's literally just a surrogate.
Do you think the purpose and the do you think the purpose of a woman is to have children?
I think the purpose of a woman is to do whatever she wants to do. Everybody got different. Some people don't have no purpose. I think like literally 70, 80% of people in existence are NPCs, if you ask me.
Or what?
NPCs, non-playable characters. You ever seen like The Sims? You ever played The Sims? Ever played a video game where like you can interact with a character, but they're not essential to the story, and you can't actually choose them as
Mm.
your character? People don't even have internal dialogues, whatever. The average person is meant to be average for the most part, and I feel like not everybody has a purpose in general. And so, and it's another thing I mean by meet me in the future. Turning women into baby factories is mad weird when we got so much other stuff that you can do with your life right now.
So if a woman is not having children, then what is she doing?
Whatever she wants, she's free.
What is a woman?
A woman is whatever she wants to be. That's literally the whole point of feminism. That everybody in here gets to define it for themselves. Because the way I do my woman shit might be different from Tahiri. It might be different from anybody else. You know what I'm saying? Like it might be you got all these different women in here, and I feel like the way we do our thing on a consistent basis is different, and it's okay. And it's okay. And that's the entire point is to have that safe space for them to do that and be able to thrive in whatever that art of being actually is.
Is it hard for a mm, is feminism for women at the bottom of the pyramid?
Yes.
For a woman that has ambitious goals,
Mm-hmm.
right, and she's at the bottom of the pyramid, right? What would she be in a masculine or a patriarchal mind that would help her rise through the top of the pyramid, or would she be in like a feminist mindset, a ambitious woman? How does a woman get herself out of the projects? How does she get herself out of the slums?
I mean, women are, like I said, when it comes to feminine energy creation, right? It's natural. I feel like it's completely natural for women to be ambitious. And it's weird for people to associate being ambitious as something that's masculine. Like women as mothers literally develop human beings as a practice. You know what I'm saying? It's in us to do that, to lead, to develop, to create, to birth, whether it be a person or an idea, straight up. And so learning to play the game will get you out the projects. But learning to self-actualize will also get you out of the projects, but in a way that allows your life to still have meaning. Because some people don't necessarily want to compete, if that makes sense.
Should women, should black women specifically, should they put their womanhood before their race?
Absolutely.
What does that look like?
It looks like a lot of the women that I know that are handling business. Because at the end of the day, when it comes to, I feel a lot, and this is gonna be crazy, right? It's gonna sound crazy when I say this. I feel less comfortable being the only woman in the room than I do being the only black person. And so, because of that, my womanhood has to come first. It has to.
What do you say to those that know you should put your race first? It's bigger than you. You should
Is it
make
bigger than me?
you
Is it
should,
bigger than me? Because, like, realistically, what can I do, or how can I affect the environment out of me, like outside of me, right? If I don't got no motion,
what what about the collective?
what about them? Literally, what about them? Like, you gotta give me something else. What about
What
them?
about the collective?
What did
Other
the collective do for Malcolm X's children when he died? What did the collective do for MLK's family when he died? What did Was it Brother Panic who was having a situation? What did the collective do for him? What did the collective? So here's the thing: everybody can't go. Even when it comes to feminism, when it comes to sexism, whatever it is, everybody can't go. Straight up, I don't have an interest in saving everybody. My thing is take care of these babies, provide them a safe environment, give them access to information and resources for them to self actualize. I'm worried about the future. Everybody else needs to figure out how to do for self.
What do you say to those that are like, but the Asian community is sticking together,
Are
and
they?
the what they say? Let me Ling is sticking with her man, and
Are they?
Marisol is stick. This is the these are the talking points, and it's interesting. It's interesting that because the talking points are everywhere, before you get to the meat and potatoes of a conversation, you
Yeah.
have to go through the layers of the talking points. You know what I'm saying? Because they're literally everywhere and they're in people's minds.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So Ling Ling and Marisol, and these are the names, right? So,
So
okay, shoot.
I would challenge there. Well, how do you know? How would you know? Do you live with Ling Ling and them? How would you know? It's basically, like I said, the whole giving other people way too much credit and literally creating a boogeyman the same way they made the government the boogeyman and broke up the family. You're making black women the boogeyman by saying that these other women are on board and trying to scare us into submission. The same way, and it's the same type of rhetoric used in religion. The threat of hell, right? Or you got to do this to get into heaven. So like, why are you not behaving a certain way? It's fear mongering and other stuff. And here's the thing: I live in Japan. There are more adults in diapers and babies in diapers right now because Japanese women want men who are equally as educated as them. Japanese women are coming for their equity in society right now. And guess what Japanese men are doing? Turning into passport bros and going to poorer Asian countries to get women who are less better off. Because Japanese women are educated. They
Mm.
have degrees and they're not going to quit their job to raise your bald head babies, right? And also, they're not gonna take a submissive position in a relationship when they work the same hours you do. And because of that, instead of addressing the gender dynamics, right? The president and stuff of Japan is trying to offer money for couples to get married and offer money for people to have babies when it's not fixing the reason why people don't want to get together. Literally, Japan is about to face a crisis in the next, I wouldn't even give them 20 years, but let's say 20 years, because they're not going to have a workforce because nobody's having babies. The only difference between Japanese people and the black community is Japanese women won't sleep with these men who don't meet the standard. Whereas in Black America, we understand Black men aren't meeting the particular standard or are trying to force us into a submissive position, and we still fucking on them, which doesn't make any sense. We're still creating families with them, understanding that there's some part. So part. This is the only difference.
Do you think black women have black male worship?
Absolutely.
What's that look like?
It looks like denying that there are things that they need and that they aren't getting based on the larger society and putting it to the side because Black men have it hard.
Shouldn't black women uplift their men?
No, that's not. That's your mama job.
So recently, I don't know if you've seen this in the States, where this was a big thing last 2 weeks about Ebony K. Williams. She
Mm-hmm.
asked, what she would date a bus driver. Okay. Was she wrong?
No, why would she be wrong in having a preference?
Was her tone wrong?
Absolutely not. Ayanla just a pick me with problems. And she like divorced like 2, 3 times already. So she has and it's crazy. And I say that not to say like there's a issue with being divorced. Like I don't care if you're not happy. If I'm not happy, I'll be on marriage number 8, right? It is what it is. But my thing is like, and Ayanla also said that she would never get married again. So my thing is, you have a standard and a boundary that you've personally enforced in your own relationships, but you're asking another woman to settle. And that's why she's a pick me and male identified.
So there's something wrong. There, why was everybody so upset? What do you?
Because Black women aren't supposed to have preferences. We're supposed to take whatever we can get. Because what they say, Black women are the least desired and all this other. Okay.
Okay, so let me flip it around. So, was her having a preference different than when Kevin Samuels called the woman average at best?
No.
It's the same
Not to
thing.
me.
It's the same thing.
Same thing to me.
Okay.
Because my thing is, if you're gonna, and only because like you literally called in to this man's show and asked for his opinion. Don't ask questions you don't want the answer to. And it's also she was a goofy for even calling him to begin with. That's my opinion, right? That's just purely my opinion. But to me, it's the same thing. He's allowed to have his preferences. I'm heavy on the everybody can like what they like. And my job is not to convince anybody that they should settle, they should ask for less or ask for something different or other than what they want. Because I think it gives off real hater vibes, and I'm not for that.
Do you think black women have unrealistic dating expectations?
No.
Why why is it framed that way?
Because men are, like I said before, patriarchy is also harmful to men. And so, what men are finding out is that they don't have what it takes to be successful in the current system. And so, instead of saying, you know what, I got pull myself up by the bootstraps, right? Instead of doing that and learning how to be a better competitor and actually be attractive on the global market, I'm just gonna make women lower the standards so I can still have access to them. That's the issue because it's getting hard for the average man, and that's the problem. Once upon a time, you could just go join the army or something like that, join the military, or work at the post office, or work at a factory, and you'd be middle class. Middle class is disappearing, and a lot of men are finding out that working hard for 30, 40 years and still being poor is not it, and having your body messed up. Black men's health is in danger right now. Everything. But instead of actually pointing fingers at the actual problem, which is the current system of capitalism and patriarchy and the intersectionality of that, they pointed at women's ability to choose. Women's choice is the issue for them because they would still be happy as long as they had access to women, though. And that shows really how little men have evolved over time because they will prioritize access to women over access to actual resources. And that's also a problem.
there's also a narrative going around. I want to bring all the talking points to you, right? And throw
Let's
them.
do it.
So there's also a narrative of black women want thugs, and they mess their life up, and then they want the good guy to come in and save the day, and the men ain't going for it now. That's the narrative. Black women. Let's deal with the first part. Do
Mhm.
black women like thugs?
No, but what black women do like is men who are respected in their peer groups. And as men, y'all have decided that certain things were important to masculinity. And we see that by the type of men that other men choose to uplift, right? So when women believe you, right, when you say it's important for a man to be tall, it's important for a man to be aggressive, it's important for a man to be able to fight or be an actual protector, right? And when a man shows that he's physically capable of doing it, and then women say, well, we're going to go over here because men have told us that this is what they view important in other men, right? Men are telling us what men are and should be. And women go for that. Now it's a problem because y'all realize some of y'all don't fit the mold. That's not a us thing. And women don't want thugs, once again. Once men start prioritizing intelligence, then it would look different younger in life. But what happens is women prioritize those things and then they realize that they don't actually make for good mates because men don't actually know what it takes to be a family man, right? Because that's something men themselves don't figure out till later. Because when you ask men based on actual studies, right, there's a book called The Evolution of Desire by David Buss. And he also has a book called When Men Behave Badly, and it looks at things like rape culture and other stuff, sexual assault, and just how men behave like on the outskirts of society. When women were actually asked what type of traits they value in men, the number one was kindness. This is what women don't like thugs. Women actually prioritize kindness, compassion. They want somebody that's funny and somebody that's ambitious, right? This is what women actually want. But men go through life, especially when we're young, right? When we're young and men are young or like teenagers up to like the early 20s, y'all are telling us those dudes are simps. And you're picking on them and you're stuffing them in the locker or in the trash can. And so, what do I look like? What does that do to my social currency? And what does that do to my, like, as far as like my respect when I'm with the man, right? Who's getting put in the trash can and put in lockers, especially when people assume that women are supposed to be submissive. Submitting to a man like that does what? That's social suicide for a woman. That's
Hmm.
social suicide for anybody. But eventually, women stop caring what men think and date who they want. That's why you see that change later in life.
So you think women pick men based off what other men think of him, or what
When we're
women?
young, absolutely.
So when you're younger, you mate based off what men think of the guy. When you
Right.
older,
Because
you mate based off what women think of the guy.
basically, more so what we think. But yeah, but what other women actually prize in a mate.
Okay. Okay.
And it's
So
not what men think it is.
so I want to bring something up because this is important, and I think a lot of women don't even know they do this. So I want to throw something at you. Tell me, um, am I on the right track? When women ovulate, what kind of men they like are different, opposed to. So basically, certain times of the month, is this true? That certain times of the month, you might be attracted to a different kind of man based off your ovulation.
Yes and no. So you are more open to different types, if that makes sense. If your preference doesn't necessarily change, but you do become more open, right? And so one thing about the other side of women wanting men who are kind and things like that, men like women also want men who don't score high, but at least score on the dark triad, right? And that's Machiavellianism, sociopathy, and I can't think of the third one, narcissism, right? You want men who are on that spectrum but don't score high because you still want men who are capable of exacting consequences on any violators, right? You still want somebody capable of that. And so I think when you're ovulating, you become more a little, like I said, you're You don't necessarily, it doesn't change your actual preferences, but you do become more open to different types of men. And sometimes the men who are more likely to approach you during that time are those more aggressive and X, Y, and Z, those types
Okay.
of men.
Okay. Because this is important because some women probably find themselves in relationships with guys who don't make long term partners,
Right.
good long term partners, because she found him when she was ovulating, right? So
Mm-hmm.
when women are ovulating, are they sending a bat signal out
Yeah.
to like a more dangerous kind of guy? Because
Yeah.
because I've also heard that's a time when women have one night stands.
Yeah.
Why? Because you feel primal.
Yeah. I think it has a lot to do with that, but not only. So when it comes to like pheromones and other things like that, like it's because like the same reason why when I was pregnant, you would not believe the amount of men that approached me while I was pregnant.
I've heard this before.
That's the craziest thing on earth. I never understood it, but it's about what that signifies for them. Like one, yeah, it's definitely a hormonal thing, and then two, it lets them know that I'm fertile, which is attractive. It's a lot of it's about the secondary things that those things represent.
So men were approaching you to sleep with you when you
Hmm.
were pregnant,
Absolutely.
showing it everything.
Yeah, I'm talking about basketball. You get pregnant.
Okay, okay. So for the women listening, they need to be mindful of their when they're ovulating because they may get themselves in some relationship dynamics they don't
Yeah,
actually really want.
yeah. And
Right?
women are more likely to cheat when they ovulating too.
Why is that?
Same reason. It's them hormones that you putting out that bad signal, and somebody you throw it, somebody gonna catch it.
So it's possible that your long term partner, I don't want to say just doesn't do it for you.
They might not excite you that way. That's fair.
Oh wow.
That's
Okay.
fair.
Okay. Okay. So is it something men don't understand when it comes to female sexuality? Do we do
Yeah, they don't view women as actual sexual creatures, right? Who enjoy sex the same way they do, which is the problem. Because even if a man feels like a woman is wife material, he's gonna move and court her differently than he treats a woman he's just trying to sleep with, right? I've had so much fun and gotten so much stuff out of men who are just trying to sleep with me. Whereas when it comes to men who like you, they're not as fun. They handle you a certain way. They can't be their carefree selves. Like I'm sure everybody at some point in their life have had like a one night stand that was like where you could really just kind of let go for that point in time. And then when you're in a relationship, though, they've experienced their sex being extremely routine. Sometimes that little bit of excitement, you know what I'm saying, and stuff like that. And I think men gotta
okay, I want to frame this right. So,
okay.
do you think most women, after a while, look at husband dick as weak dick?
No. I do think that what that happens to boyfriends though.
Okay, you think boyfriend D and hubby D is different?
Yeah, boyfriend dick and husband dick are different.
Oh, explain.
I feel like with boyfriends, it's like that boredom comes into play, right? Because it's like what are we working towards? I do feel like once that commitment is there for women who actually want marriage, you can really just go ahead and let go and be yourself at that point. You don't have the same type of restrictions. There's no reason to hold back because you don't have to worry about the whole why buy that cow when they're milk free and all this other stuff. And so I feel like women are definitely more sexually open. And I do think men are more sexually open once they become married because men don't like being vulnerable sexually either.
So, if that's the case, why do so many married couples uh, complain about this stale sex life? Like,
That's white people. But on top of that, I do think the vast majority, to give you a real answer, the vast majority of people marry people they don't actually like, and that's the problem.
mm, do you think men really want to be with the sex worker?
Absolutely. but it's a stigma on it because she's fun. It's like hoes are like scooters. They're fun. You just don't want nobody to see you on one. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. So, okay. So, the plain Jane, right?
Hmm.
The plain Jane, a man marries her because of.
Because it's socially accepted by his homeboys.
So, men pick women based off what other men think?
Absolutely, 1,000%.
Okay. But do you feel like if nobody was looking,
Oh yeah, then they gonna. I'm telling you,
he
I
would
promise
marry
you,
he would marry the sex
I
worker?
I promise you, he would. He would marry her, and and what's funny is he might experience some stuff by being with that person that opened up doors for himself. You know what I'm saying? To where he could actually fully self actualize as well, regardless of what that might look like. Because he might want to be more sexually open, which might be why he's attracted to those type of women. But his homeboys think certain shit is weird. It's That's why I said male culture is homoerotic. Men do things for male approval. They do everything from the approval of other men. Men would totally be. I'm talking about wife hoes and have amazing sex for the rest of their life if they could.
Do you think it's important for every woman to go through a whole phase?
No. Um, while I feel like it can be beneficial, I understand everybody's not built the same. And there are some women who have not, and there are some men, right? Some dudes just not on the, it's not in them either to be out there like that. And so for some people, um, they can't separate sex from emotion, separate the act from the person. Like there's no separation. A lot of people's emotions are really tied to their physical body like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so for that, you can actually ruin a person like that. Some people are just meant to be with one person or one or two person or one or two people. You know what I'm saying? It's just not in everybody. I
So,
do feel like though, if you're going to have sex, you should do that with somebody you're comfortable with and somebody that you can actually explore with and be in a safe space to experiment.
do you think, kind of going back to where you were talking about earlier about feminism being for everybody, if we was more into feminist thinking, do you
Hmm.
believe our sex lives would be more healthy?
Absolutely, definitely more healthy. Because we would learn more about the feminine body for one. Because most people don't. It's women who don't even know how their own bodies work because everything is centered around men for real. You know what I'm saying? When you watch porn and all that stuff is mad unrealistic for the most part. Like I despise lesbian porn. It's like what that ain't what we be doing. But go ahead.
So okay, so when women do adult movies, it's
Hmm.
more for the male gaze. It does
Absolutely
not. So you say it does not look like that for real
right.
behind the scene.
Because it's the optics once again back to the whole masculine. You know what I'm saying? Is the seen versus feminine being the unseen. Like and this might be a little bit much information for the crowd, but as a woman, right? And I've had this conversation with other women. I like porn where the women look like they're actually enjoying themselves.
How can we tell the difference?
That's what I'm saying. It's the unseen. You just gotta know. There's a vibe.
Can you
It's
give
just
me?
one
Can
of
you give me? Because when we hang up, I'm gonna go look and be.
you funny. But
So
no,
I
no, in
just,
all seriousness though, you can definitely tell the difference, like the fake moans, the whatever. You can see in some parts, like in certain scenes in a porn, like I've seen like a group porn where it's super obvious because you see the different couples, and you see this one couple over here who look like they don't even know the camera is there. And it looks regular, but it looks real, and it looks like they like each other. At the very least, they're enjoying themselves, even if they don't know each other for real.
mm,
Like on some, it's you could tell. I promise you could tell. And but that's yeah. I'm
do,
looking at the
do,
comments. Yeah, they don't point it because you got to read some of the comments, King.
do you
But
do
you
you
could tell.
do
I
you
could tell.
do you think as men we're afraid for real of female sexuality?
Absolutely.
But We
Because then we can be honest about what we're not getting and how men have like sucked at sex for centuries. Because keep in mind, the average woman isn't getting the orgasm, and if she is getting one, it's not from penetration. Whereas you have lesbian relationships where essentially lesbians are having better sex. Gay men are having better sex. So the issue is when a man and a woman get together. Because men have zero interest in a woman's body for real.
lesbian women are having better connections.
And better sex.
Gay men are having better connections and better sex. But
Hmm.
heterosexual are disconnected.
Correct.
Is it more on the woman not understanding the man, or do you think it's the more of the man not understanding the woman?
It's the man not understanding the woman and the woman not understanding herself because women were taught shame when it came to sex. It's hella women that want to have sex with their shirt on, you know what I'm saying, or only in the dark and all this other stuff. Because we were taught that our body, something about the female form, is automatically derogatory or perverse. You know what I'm saying? And so it's just the way you might see a certain woman in leggings and it's automatically sexualized, whereas you see a motherfucker like Taylor Swift in leggings, nobody cares. So like the black female body already has a lot of shame attached to it, so we don't get to know ourselves. I talked to a group of like gay women, gay men. I'm talking about like, I have a very mixed friend group. Most of them are straight though. I had a conversation with a group of women, and the only women in that group who had actually seen their own vaginas before, who had looked at them, was like women that were bi or into women. And it was like maybe one, I probably only see maybe one or two like straight women who actually knows what their own vagina looks like.
Do you do you think black women expect black men to show up a certain type of way in that space as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you either have women who go into the encounter expecting men to be incompetent in that way, or you have some women that expect, because black men are fetishized oftentimes, for them to know best. You know what I'm saying? And they get disappointed either way.
So feminism being for everybody would have an effect on our sexual health, how we engage with family and children.
Hmm.
What would it do politically?
Politically, it would change like the economy. I feel like that's when we will finally see universal health care. Because if we don't do it for each other, we'd at least do it for children at that point. Because it's important that they make it, you know what I'm saying, in life, and they get to grow up. So I would for sure say universal health care. We finally get our universal basic income. We definitely get that because once again, it comes back to putting the children first and making sure they don't have to starve and things like that. And because of that, we see an uptick in creativity. We would see the advancement of technology because everybody's not in survival mode anymore. We would see the crime go down, and definitely the types of crime being committed would absolutely change, right? Because we would develop a more community mindset, and then we would get rid of a lot of those conditions that cause crime, such as poverty and other things. We would see longer maternal leave. We would also see paternal leave. So men get the opportunity to bond with their children. We probably see men and women more often, because with the changes in the economy, might take turns working or take turns being the sole breadwinner while children are young. That way, each one of them has an opportunity to fully bond with their offspring and and that child actually gets the best of both worlds. Because it'd be mad crazy to me how men want women to be submissive and then be the primary caregivers of their children. You can't, your wife, right? If she's the one responsible for raising your children, she can't teach them babies what she don't know. And if all she know how to do is listen to you and take orders and be submissive, what does that look like for your sons? And we see what it looked like for our sons right now.
Hmm.
So most of the time, when men do their thing, it's either because they had a mama who was on them, right? And so, or they had a mom who was successful. If it's the woman who's actually responsible for raising you, imparting that wisdom and imparting those things on you, because that's your primary caregiver. So we would see a change in that. So that child would actually get the best of both worlds because they actually have two active parents with equal input.
How do you think women should approach? the issue of monogamy in modern times, because it seems like a struggle. Like it seems like a conversation that people do not want to have, and I'm only dealing with the woman. Uh,
Hmm.
it seems from my observation that women walk into it expecting I don't come first to no bitch, I don't come second to no bitch, but it don't be working, right? So when you say meet me in the future, do you think women that have more agency, women that lean into more of a womanist mindset,
Hmm.
that's an ideal even women in their women's spaces need to confront not monogamy just from the man's perspective
No, I
but
got you in
but
general. Yeah.
her in general. Why do you think that is the default setting for a woman? Monogamy, period. I just want to be first. I want somebody to put me first. That shit.
Because because keep in mind, once upon a time, monogamy wasn't the default, but so women were property at that point. But now we live in a time where, well, not now, but then it became the point to where men, or let's put this back on women, because I was gonna go over the whole coveter and all this other stuff, right? So once upon a time, it was a necessity, and women didn't have social equity, right? There was nowhere else we could actually be number one somewhere besides in our relationship.
Mm.
What else did women have? You know what I'm saying? Like even black women who have always worked, you're still somebody, you're a housekeeper, you're somebody's maid, you're doing physical, like, and even men, like there was no equity in that. That wasn't fulfilling, right? And so when it comes to having a child, you got to be special because you're in charge of something. Because patriarchy says there's a hierarchy, right? So at the very least, you have equity and you get to be powerful than somebody or have a position to where you can be on top. So until you become a mother, the only equity you really had in the world was being number one in a relationship. Because other than that, where else in the world were women being put first? Literally nowhere.
Do you think they should still approach that in modern times, moving to the future, or do you think women should start having the monogamy talk?
They gotta talk about it. They gotta talk about it. Because I think that women will find that all women don't want the same things out of a relationship. And all women aren't necessarily meant to be monogamous. But I do think that if a woman wants to be monogamous, she still needs to. So we're in the age of social media marketing, right? They have things called click funnels. Women need to attempt to apply that same type of structure and strategy to their dating life. I'm not saying that you gotta sleep with every dude you date, but I am saying that women have to learn to explore their options to make sure they understand what those options are. A lot of times, as women, we'll find somebody we like and then we'll just focus on them solely and end up missing out on the opportunity, right? And that you might end up missing out on your person because you're not making space for them. You're giving somebody a level of commitment they haven't necessarily earned quite yet. So I feel like women should adjust their dating strategy and have a way for it to trickle down into monogamy. There have to be gates, and you have to start gatekeeping your own sex life and have different gates to where you finally get to that relationship level with a mate that's actually worthy.
Do you think that women should continue to expect men to be monogamous? Let
No,
me,
you should expect anybody to be monogamous, period.
but let me frame it a certain type of way too. I'm not even an attractive dude that clearly other women like, right?
Hmm.
And that has a couple dollars.
Hmm.
Why does it seem like women be shocked by? Is it because something he's telling her behind the scenes? Because there's always this. Oh my God, I can't believe you did this to me. And the dude is 28 years old. He's young. He's moving
Because
around.
everybody assumes monogamy is the default. That's the problem. If you'd have just asked up front what his idea of a relationship was like, you would save yourself a lot of heartache. But people don't want to have those conversations now. It's
Yeah.
uncomfortable because especially when somebody checks off all the other boxes, right? You want to just convince yourself because you understand that if he tells you off rip he's not monogamous, or that he feels like, okay, I can be in a relationship with just you, but on occasion I may step out, right? But I can only do one relationship, but on occasion I might step out, right? If he were to tell you that, that would make you walk away from somebody who might check 9 out of 10 of your boxes. And so you play yourself with that.
Maya, we're coming to our close. I want you to give it leave us with what is feminism.
Feminism is basically a more equitable system to where people can actually catch up with their kind. And it is a system that provides a safe space for different kinds to even exist harmoniously. And it puts the children first, and it protects our future. Straight up.
Is there anything you want us to know about you? Do you have some areas where you would like the people that's interested in what they heard to go hear more from?
Yeah, so you can check me out on Facebook under Maya Johnson. I actually recently started a blog. Like, it's not a lot on there, but I'm working on it. I'm gonna bring some more content. It's meetmeinthefuture.com. So if you literally go to my website, meetmeinthefuture.com, it'll have access to all my socials. I'm gonna start making YouTube videos and stuff soon. But yeah, just catch up with me on social.
We're definitely gonna have you back again. So before you go, I want to play a word game with you, right? So I'm gonna throw over
Oh snap! Let's go.
I'm gonna throw some words at you. You tell me, give me a one word what it means to you. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Patriarchy.
Oppression.
Family.
Everything.
Money.
Access.
Children.
Crumb snatchers.
The future.
Freedom.
Black women.
God.
Love.
The answer.
Yo, we appreciate you. You know, we definitely gonna have you back again. Definitely, it's always by popular demand, and it's been a pleasure. I posted the link in the chat, so please be courteous to my guests, and thank y'all for being super disrespectful in the chat. Maya, thank you for coming through the Coin Gang stage again.
Absolutely,
You know,
it was a pleasure.
We're definitely gonna have you back, and I'll get back to you. Okay, beloved.
All right.
Appreciate you.
Later.
Hey, y'all. Appreciate y'all being super respectful. Even if she says some things that were new, any disagreements, we like to be, appreciative and supportive of everybody that comes through to share their ideals, because again, this is the #1 home for personal development, and personal development is gonna come full circle, and you have to experience different ideology. So we thank Maya. We're definitely going to have her back by popular demand. And I just want y'all to know, no matter what system is going on, patriarchy, capitalism, socialism, even in feminism, I'm going to be a nigga with waves. This motherfucker's gonna spin. It don't even matter. Feminism, patriarchy, whatever's going on, you best believe the motherfucker's gonna be at the top, on the sides, and in the back. My name is Ken Billions. I appreciate y'all. The worst time in my life was when my mama was laid up in the hospital dying. I just watched her decay. You know, it was crazy. And I was looking out the window and I seen planes in the sky. People was traveling. It was cars on the highway. People was traveling. People was on their phone, just doing human things, you know. The worst period of my life, the world was moving. It didn't stop for your boy at all. She ended up dying and I was sitting right next to her. I seen the life leave my mama. The life leave my mama. I can't unsee that. Man, I ain't got no fear. What could you do to me? You think I care what you think? If I could see that, you think I care what you think? That's why I ain't got no problem telling you to pay like you weigh. Sock it to my pocket. I'm charging for my pain. You ain't gonna sit up here and take my game from my pain and run off and break bread with somebody else. Nah, you break bread with me. Respect the game. I ain't got no fear, so I don't care what you think. It's time for that 20 piece. This that $20 call to action, man. Pay like you weigh.